Journey with Judy.
Honest, open, transparent. It's hot.
There's no such thing as perfect people. There's no such thing as a perfect life. So come as you are, broken and scarred. Lift up your heart and be amazed and be changed by a perfect God.
Okay, so I'm guessing if maybe we didn't play that song to begin with, then maybe I would not start every Journey with Judy with that big old thing in my throat. But here we go again. And as you heard, we are presenting this show as being hot, honest, open, and transparent. What's wrong? Says my 4 children. You look mad. You are never happy. And the highlight this week was a text to Bob, which is my man, that said, Mom is a real downer, huh? If you're happy and you know it, your face will surely show it. Not so much. Happiness, by definition, is a frequency of positive emotions ranging from contentment to intense joy. So I've been thinking, as we approach the happy, thankful Thursday called Thanksgiving, I guess I need to get happy. What happened to my attitude of gratitude? I really want to ditch the downer disposition because I know that I'm blessed. Our family tradition consistently for as long as I can remember has been to plan, prepare, serve, and share a meal with the folks at Twin Oaks. We do some trick-or-treating for the shelter beforehand, and we bring everything we can to fill their cabinets, and we enjoy our Thanksgiving meal with them. And Bob and I have always felt our desire to serve others would be an amazing opportunity for not only us to reflect on our blessings, but it helps put life in perspective while teaching the kids the value of being of service to other people. What we hear, we may never remember, and what we see, we may never forget. So I can tell my kids over and over about how blessed we are, but some of these things just have to be experienced. We have always hoped our children and ourselves would carry with us after the holiday experience of Thanksgiving a true value for what it is that has been bestowed upon us and how undeserving we are of all of our blessings. Unfortunately, happiness at the Hehr house has about a 30-second shelf life. But here's what I know, we're so not alone. A survey taken asked people the following things. Are you very happy, quite happy, not very happy, or not at all happy? 80% of the people responded that were surveyed said either not very or not at all. And even though I'm kind of chuckling about that, it's really not funny. As a country, we were ranked last, therefore least happy, at number 203. How can that be? How can that be when we live in a nation that since 1621, pilgrims began celebrating the countless blessings that we often don't even consider as part of our everyday gig? I think you know a little bit about me. And here's the deal. I've been in the penthouse and I've been in the poorhouse. And I know that what you have will never keep you happy. Because happiness is an inside job. And looking back on this gig about happiness, gosh, I know that I was most blessed, most happy when I was poor and persecuted, mourning and meek, hungry and weak, broken-hearted, and most in need of God's mercy. I'll tell you when, and I'll tell you why when we return. You are listening to Journey with Judy on Lake 96.1. We'll be back in a few. Welcome back. Thanks for choosing to journey with Judy this morning right here on Lake 96.1. I'm Judy, and our journey continues this morning talking about the topic of happiness. And biblically speaking, the equivalent of happiness is blessedness. And we define that by saying it's a frequency of positive emotions ranging from contentment to intense joy. And here's the deal. We live in a culture that totally contradicts what it is that the Bible tells us would cause us to feel genuinely content or happy or blessed. I left at the break telling you that I was the most blessed in my own journey, in cases where most people would think I should be the most stressed. One of the teachings of Jesus is the Beatitudes, and this is when he brought a bunch of people up to a mountain, and he stood there and he wanted to convey to them so desperately that what they were doing and what they were thinking and why they were doing it was so not what he came to teach. And we know that he didn't only come to teach us, but he came that we would become what he teaches. And I dig that. And here's the things that he talked about. He tried to say that these Beatitudes should be our attitudes. He said that when you're poor, it's like being blessed when you're at the end of your rope, because when there's less of you, there'd be more of God. And in my life, I know that I needed a lifeguard and not a lesson. And when I realized I couldn't save myself, I was blessed. And how about when we mourn, when we feel that we're losing something that we couldn't live without? He says, you know what? That's when you can be embraced by the only one who's most to you. And that you learn through trial and you grow through pain, and the only way out is through. I was meek, not weak. And he said, you're blessed when you're meek. That means you're content with who you are. No more, no less. I lived my life believing that the past is what defined me. But he said, oh no, baby, I'm going to save you and I'm going to use you. But you got to be willing. And, I've said it before, I'm blonder than I pay to be. So it took a while for me to learn this lesson about surrendering. How about when I told you I was hungry? Hungry once and for all for truth and justice. Not about being right, not about making a point, but about right living and making a difference morally, ethically, and in ways that were never on my radar before. How about being merciful? I know now that mercy trumps judgment any day. And he said that you're blessed when you care, because at the moment of being careful, you find yourself being cared for. I got to look at life through the lens of truth that says what has been done to me pales in comparison to what I've done to God. Mercy. Never even knew what that was. So we're talking about these Beatitudes, which are really attitudes, which is a settled way of thinking and feeling that's reflected in a person's behavior. So he came to tell them, like, you are most blessed, you are most happy. And that should be reflected in your behavior when you are poor and mourning and meek and hungry and merciful. And then he says, but here's the deal. The heart of the problem is the problem of our hearts, because we want to be pure in heart. And that's when we know that our mind and heart has been put right, that we see God in the outside world. My heart was like a stone. I needed a new one, and I got one. And I know things that we look at change when we change the way we look at things, but it's an inside job and it starts with the heart. I am someone who loves drama. I don't know if it's in my family, like if it's a gene that got passed on to me, but there's something about always perpetuating negativity or being filled with drama. Like I used to thrive on it. And I know now that I think as long as I was focusing on you, the focus was off of me. But he told us in this teaching that you're blessed if you're a peacemaker. No, we were pot stirrer uppers at our house. The worse, the better. And now I know that I'm blessed and I'm happy when I can show people how to cooperate and collaborate instead of competing and fighting. Because that's when I know that who I really am and what my place and my role is. It's that whole thing about going back to your square, like all you can handle is what's on your square. And now I actually can say I'm sorry and mean it. And I know that an apology doesn't mean I'm wrong. It means I value our relationship more than my ego. It's impossible for me to get to that place and have that attitude without a power greater than me, myself, and I, who I've also referred to as the Trinity for the first 45 years of my life. And how about this whole thing about being persecuted? We're blessed and most happy when our commitment to our faith or what we believe in provokes persecution. I got to tell you, I've been called a Jesus freak and a Bible thumper. I'm loving that. I've been called way worse than that. That's a compliment to me today. To be persecuted for the sake of Him, the one who makes all things possible, there would be no greater compliment. And so as we're talking about the Beatitudes this morning, I think to sum up this teaching, because it's a lot to process. It's a lot to try to even get our hands around and our hearts around. And I'm convinced it's something that we can't just tell somebody about. We have to experience it ourselves. Otherwise, we would never believe it. I am the most self-absorbed, self-serving, selfish person you know. And anybody who really knows me is on the other side going, uh-huh. But this is about self-surrender and sacrifice and service for the sake of another. And the gig at our house is like when we're all full of ourselves, I say, we got to go to the nursing home. We got to go to the shelter. We got to go do something for somebody else because it takes us outside of ourselves. And sometimes that's the only thing that allows us to see things from the proper perspective, to have eyes like Him and a heart like Him. Sometimes requires a little time out. Like how about the Control-Alt-Delete button that my friend Dave taught me about? My kids do that for me when they say, you're never happy. And what's wrong? And so as I sing this song, if you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. Then clearly that would permeate all aspects of our life. Because what we say, think, and we do, when they're all consistent, we know we're doing this thing the way it was intended. And we're being life givers and not life suckers. It's so not the norm to embrace this attitude of gratitude, which are the Beatitudes. And to feel blessed, happy, and content. So, that being said, it's a lot to handle. I'm going to sum it all up in 3 simple steps. We're going to take a break. I'd like to thank the Cunis Country Auto Group for sponsoring this show. And feel free to visit judyhehr.com or check me out on Facebook. We'll be back in a minute. You are listening to Journey with Judy right here on Lake 96.1. Welcome back. You are listening to Journey with Judy on Lake 96.1, and we're talking about the topic of happiness in relation to the Beatitudes, which is an attitude or a disposition that means that we are blessed and we are happy, and it's not predicated upon circumstances, upon situations, or in many cases when we try to compare how happy somebody else is to us. And my man said, babe, nobody knows what the Beatitudes are, and it's way too heavy. I want this show to be different every time. I want it to be something that causes you to ponder and reflect. And most important, I want it to be honest, open, and transparent. And I am here to tell you, based on my own life experiences, that if somebody told me that I was most blessed when I was poor and mourning and meek and hungry and persecuted and requiring mercy, I would tell you that they were nuts. But happiness and blessedness begins right where we are. You know, the thing I say in my house all the time is, you are the common denominator. Whenever we are talking about somebody else or some situation or some circumstance, I am the common denominator in all of that. I am the only one who can be the change I want to see. So right here, right now, as we approach this Thanksgiving, I want it to be with an attitude of gratitude, knowing that if you're happy and you know it, you're going to clap, you're going to stomp, you're going to shout, and your face will surely show it. This is a road less traveled. Guess why? It's not easy. And if we want the Beatitudes to be our attitudes, then we're going to recognize that we are blessed and we are happy exactly where we are. I left telling you that I can sum this up in 3 steps. If we want to be a people filled with joy, Jesus, others, yourself. If that is the way you are living every day, I am telling you, you will be clapping because you will be wanting to see what's in store for you. You will know that God's presence is guaranteed, whether you feel lost, abandoned, uncertain, forsaken. You're going to be stomping because you are going to be willing to know that His power is made perfect when we finally say, you know what? That's it. I got nothing else. Do with me what you will. Because we know without Him we can't do anything. You're going to be shouting because you're going to be waiting for all the promises that are on the horizon for you. Because you're going to have a heart like His. And then your face is going to show it. Unlike me in front of my children. Because if you change your heart, you're going to change your life. I know firsthand that cosmetic changes are only skin deep. And you're going to know you're happy when what you say, what you think, and what you do is consistent. All the time, every time. And our journey is about moving from image to likeness. It's in knowing that nothing is for nothing, that all of it is going to be used for good if we just trust. And I don't want my legacy to be one of misery and mediocrity with a puss on my face, as my man would say. I want to be happy knowing that I'm not who I used to be. I'm not doing what I used to do. And that's good enough today. Because we know it's a journey and not a destination. And every journey begins with the first step. You're listening to Journey with Judy on Lake 96.1. Welcome back. Thanks for listening this morning to this super heavy topic about happiness. For those of you who missed any part of the show, please listen in on judyhehr.com for this entire show before Thanksgiving so you can have an attitude of gratitude and knowing exactly where you are is where your happiness begins. Or you could read the book, 10,000 Things to Be Happy About. Or you could reference the 826 happy verses in the Bible. And by the way, I took the Are You Happy quiz in light of my kids' comments, and I scored a 58, which is pretty high. It means I'm happy because 50 to 72 constitutes happiness. So I'm happy despite what my kids say. Be happy. You are blessed. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And please join me next week right here on Journey with Judy. Peace out.